Today, one of the things I absolutely love about running is how inclusive it is and how open it is. I started running my first year of graduate school, and luckily for me, it's a sport that requires very little in the way of coordination, skill, etc. Never been an athlete really before, but my first year of grad school, I needed some diversion, some challenge outside of the classroom. And I started running. I trained for a 5K, turned into a half marathon, turned into a marathon, and just kept going. I love running for the diversion, the connection it brings me to other people. My third date with my now husband was a 10-mile training run. My brother looked up his times before we did that date and called me up and said, "Bethany, don't do that. That is going to go horribly wrong." And I was like, you know what? He's fast, sure, but he seems like a really nice guy. And that was a good bet. One of my other favorite runs, we did a 5K the morning of our wedding with the wedding party. I love what running brings to my life.
So I also really enjoy the community aspects of running. And as an indication of that, and I also have kind of a love story built around running too. So it was because of this Boston Marathon that I ran in 1999 that I met my current partner. And so he had learned that I would run the Boston Marathon. He was about to start running, training for Boston Marathon, and so a mutual friend put us in touch. And that's how I met him. And then a couple years into our relationship, 2 years into our relationship, we decided to run the Boston Marathon together. So this is the medal from the 2004.
When you ran together, was it together the whole time?
No, we can't do that.
Okay.
No.
Just asking.
Because there's not only a community aspect to it, but there's also a little bit of a competition aspect to it that I also enjoy about running. So here are two of my medals from the Gay Games in 2006.
Nice.
So I took the second place, so I got a silver medal for the 10K and then a bronze medal for the half marathon. So I enjoy the community aspects of it, but I also enjoy
the competitive.
The competitive aspects a little bit. But running for me is people dream, and when people dream, their thoughts get organized. And for me, that's what running is. So it's when I'm running that my brain is doing all the work that it needs to put things in the right place and the right combination and structure and everything like that. And so running is integral to me. So people who know me well know when I haven't run yet in a day because I'm more agitated, irritable. But if I do a run first thing in the morning, that I'm more even keel. I mean, I'm never truly even keel. And today we're really excited because we have a chemistry professor. Brent Iverson is here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how he incorporates running into his own classroom.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here, and this is interesting because I'm here today and I'm going to be talking about running because of my wife. So over 30 years ago, I met my wife, and our first date did go horribly wrong. She could run 15 miles. I could not. I tried. I survived, barely, and I've been running ever since. But one of the things that taught me was the importance of being fit and healthy as an adult. Because if I have one thing that I've learned, it's that being successful is not successful if you're not healthy. And students come to the university with a 20-year warranty on their bodies. It's pretty much okay for the first 20 years. After that, what they have to find out is that you have to work at it and that you've got to have good personal habits put in place or you're not going to be healthy. You're going to have a dreaded meeting with a doctor somewhere along the line, and they're basically going to say, sorry, it's too late. There's very little you can do. What we want to do is we want to prevent that. So about 15 years ago, I started talking about this in my organic chemistry class. And I'm talking to mostly pre-meds, usually about 500. And I make a very simple point. And that point is they're working their tails off to become successful in any way that they want to define that. But I'm going to define it as not successful unless they are healthy and they are fit. And in adulthood, you cannot take this for granted. And to me, that's what running is. And so I like to think that what I teach in my class is important. But the only emails I get afterwards are, you know, I forgot all of the aldol reactions and the Claisen mechanism, but I'm still running. And because I'm still running, this has truly changed my life, and I really appreciate it. And so it's really just been now part of the culture of my class that they know they're going to run a race. And I know that that's one of the things that I would like to do here, is I would like to inspire your class to beat my class.
Right on.
So last spring, my class ran the Longhorn Run. And when we ran the Longhorn Run, out of class of 500, I had 141, I think it was, students who ran the race. And most of those students, it was the first time they'd ever considered running. And that's really the people that I think it's important to reach. The students who take their bodies for granted. You can do that now. You can't as soon as you leave the university. And so I want to motivate those students who are thinking, nope, I'm never going to run. Please be quiet. Let's talk about the chemistry. No, I don't want those students to realize that the most important thing they will hear in college is what my wife taught me, which was being fit is being successful. And so that's what we're going to try to get across today.
Wow, that's great. So taking the running from the community aspect to the classroom, now we want to share with you a video for whom running is really personal. So let's go to the video.
Featuring the biggest names and the best stories in sports. The following is a presentation of E60. Sports Matter.
A single father and his only daughter, starting the day like they do any other.
It's not cooking, right?
There's two questions I ask. Can I keep running? And am I still fit to raise a kid? Because one's how I get through the day and the other one's why.
These runs aren't about the distance covered or the finish lines crossed. For Aram Leon, they're about what lingers in his brain and what lives in his heart. For him, the running is about surviving. For her, it's about remembering.
If something goes wrong on that surgery table, am I gonna have had a kid that doesn't remember me at all?
Aram Leon was born in Chihuahua, Mexico, one of three brothers raised by a single mother. When he was 8, the family moved to Kermit, Texas, 200 miles north of the border. There, Aram found his passion.
Él quería correr tantos miles de días sin fallar un día. Entonces él corría y corría y corría todos los días.
In 3rd grade, I was running through the hall and they sent me to the principal's office and I got spanked for running in the hall. And that's actually when I got put on the track team.
By high school, Aram was captain of the track team. By college, he was running a mile in under 5 minutes. He married his high school sweetheart at 20, and 5 years later, they had a daughter, Kiana.
My life did not change anywhere near enough after having a kid. I can count on one hand the number of times I changed the diaper. I didn't meet my father till I was 15. And so I had no concept of what being a father was or should be.
Time passed, the father worked, and he ran. But in the fall of 2010, when Aram was 30, he fainted during a lunch and ended up in the hospital.
A doctor came in and said, look, you just had a seizure. And they said, you have some kind of brain tumor. We're going to admit you. And then they walked out of the room. And I'm all by myself.
Aram's tumor was diagnosed as a grade 2 diffuse astrocytoma, a cancer located in his left temporal lobe, enmeshed in the language and memory center of his brain. A doctor gave him the prognosis.
He said, look, as things stand, you're probably not going to make it to 40. I cannot think of a single moment before or after where the reality of the fact that I was going to die became so clear.
An operation to remove as much of the tumor as possible would prolong his life, but it carried a risk. it could permanently damage his brain's ability to form new memories.
If something goes wrong on that surgery table, if I have the seizure at the wrong place, what if I have a kid that has zero memories of me? I didn't want to create the kind of hole that I'd grown up with.
What can happen to someone who has cancer?
They could have seizures, or if it's bad, they could die.
In March 2011, Iram underwent surgery. He woke up the next morning to a different life.
I was sitting there trying to watch TV shows and couldn't remember what had happened moments before. I was losing my own way in my own conversations.
Life became more difficult. Iram's memory deficits cost him his job as a probation officer. And 3 weeks after the surgery, his wife filed for divorce.
Lo más difícil no fue el cáncer, pero lo más difícil fue cuando ella se fue. Era ver a Kiana llorar en su cuarto por su mamá. Y era ver a Irán llorando.
There was a night where I literally got drunk on tequila and smoked a cigarette, and I'm not sure anybody, including myself, recognized me during that time.
Pero él siempre decía, voy a estar bien, tengo que estar bien por Kiana.
Despite driving restrictions and his memory issues, Iram wanted and received full-time custody of his daughter in the summer of 2011.
Yeah, no, we gotta cross the street.
He wanted to give Kiana memories that might never last in his own mind. It was the start of a new life.
Daddy,
Yeah.
you make your pancakes.
Yep. There was one night, as I was getting her ready for bed, putting her down in her bed, and she's like, "Daddy, can we paint our toenails?" It just meant whatever it takes. Painted toenails, if that's what it takes to get Kiana to smile, I'll paint my toenails every day.
Ahora Irán ha cambiado mucho. Ahora tiene que ser mamá y papá.
Daddy, do you know an easier way to do it?
Tell me the easier way to do it.
Well, it's not exactly easier, but
An old passion brought the father and daughter even closer. They trained and entered in local races. There were 5Ks, then a half marathon, then their biggest goal yet, 26.2 miles.
he's fast and he runs hard. I can see him sometimes, and he sweats.
March 9th, 2013, 2,000 runners left the starting line of the Gusher Marathon in Beaumont, Texas.
My original thought was how cool is this? Just because Kiana's gonna be with me.
Well past the halfway point of the race, Iram wondered where the other runners were.
I turned to the cyclist and I said, "How far back am I?" Because I couldn't see anybody. It was a long highway. I'm like, "How far back am I?" There's no one ahead of you. I'm like, "What?" It's like there's no one ahead of you.
This might be the first marathon winner pushing a carriage.
And that's when it hit me. I am going to win a marathon.
What do you remember about that race?
There were people cheering, and we won.
Just 2 years after undergoing brain surgery, Iram and Kiana Leone crossed the finish line of the Gusher Marathon in first place.
And I thought, this is as good as running. and life gets.
Now, 2 years later, Iram is still running, with Kiana by his side. It's a race against time. But he's made peace with that.
Oh, nicely done.
Because he knows he'll be leaving something behind for his daughter.
¿Cuál es lo que él quisiera dejar como un recuerdo? Que él estaba allí siempre. Que él luchó y ha estado luchando para estar con la niña.
There's two questions I ask. Can I keep running, and am I still fit to raise a kid? Because one's how I get through the day and the other one's why. There's no question I'm gonna die, but I'm just trying to get some of the living done right before I do.
So we're really excited today because we have Iram with us. So Iram, thanks for joining us today in class.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So first, tell us, Iram, how you're doing today.
You know, I had an MRI a few months ago. Everything's stable. They've let me start driving for about a year. More importantly, my daughter just did her first 10K a couple of days ago. She did a night trail race, and I was hoping she'd do it in a couple of hours, and she did it about an hour and 27 minutes.
An hour and 27 minutes?
Yeah, 20 something. I don't remember the exact.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, she was passing adults all along the way with the. So.
She didn't beat you, did she?
I think she outsprinted me, but you know, I was pretty close.
So tell us a little bit more about why running is so important to you.
You know, it's my therapy. Probably how much I run tells you how bad I need therapy. But I was listening to you guys talk about your proposal and how you partnered up. And my first marathon, I signed up for it to do it with the girl I was with, and it was on Valentine's Day. And we didn't do a single training run together. We didn't run it together. You know, we just high-fived at the end. It's no wonder we broke up. I should be more like you guys.
You have to plant those roots, right? During those training runs, and that'll get you through actually race day.
So I didn't think through it enough.
Nice.
So, some of the things I love asking runners, what's your favorite run? What's the favorite run you've
my
ever done?
my favorite run is always the next one. You know, no matter how good or bad the last one went, my favorite race is always the next one. There's been some good races, but I always try to have a race on the calendar. I have total respect for people who just train for just to watch their figure. But I need something to keep me going, so I always have a couple races on the calendar, and my favorite's always the next one.
Nice. And you'll do races from 5Ks all the way up to marathons still?
Yeah, apparently I have ADD or something. I've done a 10K, a 5K, and a marathon, literally back to back to back, and it's one foot in front of the other.
How does your training schedule change?
Well, when you do that, it's the coach certainly gives me looks about my intelligence but I do a track workout every Tuesday. I do a hill workout every Thursday, and then if I don't have a race, I do a long run that kind of corresponds to whatever the next race is.
So, Iram, I'm sure that there are days when you're in bed and you just don't even want to get out of bed. So how do you find the internal strength and fortitude to make yourself get out of bed, put on those running shoes, and hit the trail? You know,
once upon a time, I put off brain surgery to run a marathon. You know, I woke up with a seizure on Friday afternoon, and we went to the hospital, but the biopsy wasn't going to be till Monday. And I'm not very good at sitting still. So it was the longest I'd ever sat around or laid around, I guess. It was a hospital bed. And so I asked if I could go running Sunday night just around the hospital grounds. And I might have actually left the hospital grounds. I needed to get out of there. And so I just kind of think back of that moment. You know, if you put off brain surgery to run a marathon, you really can't come up with any excuses for being lazy on any given morning.
So what did your doctor do to you when he found out that you did that?
Actually, I think he told the nurses about me, and it might have shown how much was wrong with my brain, but he was happy about it. So,
wow. So no excuses?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to keep going because I don't know. I don't know how any day is going to go, but you get to choose some part of it, and so for me, that running is always that choice.
And that's a little bit about running for me, right? Like there are days where we clearly have a lot going on, and on those days, I just get up an hour earlier because if I don't run, then my day is going to be off, and so you might as well just bite the bullet, get out of bed early, and go for the run.
I mean, yeah, I've done it in the morning, I've done it at lunch, I've done it at night, and it seems no matter what, I both sleep and dream better on the days that I run.
So, Aaron, one of the things that's really interesting about this story is that I've had a number of students over the years who unfortunately were diagnosed with cancer subsequent to being in my class. Every single one of them told me that running helped them during treatment. Every single one. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that you've discovered that this has been really helpful to you. I think it's, in fact, you've inspired a number of students you've never met who have really lived this life, and it's really improved them in many ways. And so there's a whole lot that's going on here, especially with your life and what you're able to show. But I think the impact that you have on others to show them a way to deal with really difficult physical situations is just truly inspirational. And it really confirms to me, every time I think of you, I just think, no excuses. I don't care what my students say about why they can't run. I'm just thinking, of course they can. If they choose to do it, they can run, and they will benefit from this in ways that they can't possibly imagine.
I was at an event where somebody asked me when I started running, and a little kid, probably 11, 12 months old, gets up and ran across the floor. I was like, right there, just like everyone else. I just didn't stop. And so, Kiara just did that first 10K. I think you have to not stop. I think that's a very natural instinct. I don't know when we turn it off, but I'm glad she hasn't. I'm glad I haven't. So.
Well, thanks so much for being here, Aram. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
So that's a really personal story, but running can also happen not only at the personal level and the community level, but also the global level. So now we're going to watch a video where running has taken on an entire global phenomenon.
Growing up as a child in Burundi, the first thing I did every morning before the sun would rise was get one of our plastic containers and head down the mountain to fetch water. Finding the water was never a problem, but it was always dirty and needed to be boiled. When I returned home from school at the end of each day, I picked up the container again and went back down the mountain. Every day, always the same. I did not take my first sip of water from a good, clean source until I was in first grade. Burundi has a history of conflict going back to the early 1960s. But for most of my childhood, there was no war. Things changed when I went off to boarding school as a teenager. And over the next 2 decades, the country went through a very difficult time. War, genocide, children losing parents, parents losing children, and millions of Burundians waking up each day in a great poverty with no real way of getting out. But there is another side of my country that you don't know about. Burundi is amazingly beautiful. To me, it's like Hawaii. We have trees that produce some of the sweetest bananas you could ever taste. Mountains that reach over the clouds. The tea and the coffee that is grown is one of the best quality in East Africa. And along the western border, swimming within Lake Tanganyika reside over 300 fish that can be found nowhere else in the world. Living among all this beauty, however, are citizens who have no access to clean water. Because of the Gazette Foundation, lives are being transformed. When we finish the water system, the immediate impact is the average distance a family walks each day goes from over 4 miles to just 400 meters. Only one lap around the track. Children are getting to school on time, happy, hydrated, with clean clothes. Health has greatly improved, and health clinic reports to us that waterborne illness have vanished. And because the workers for each system are the future beneficiary, jobs are being provided, and a greater sense of ownership has been created. I give my time, my talents, my financial, because I've seen results. My friends, join us today as we continue our mission in transforming lives in Burundi.
Right, so that's a video about some of the global aspects of running. And we're really excited today because we have Gilbert with us here in the studio too. So Gilbert, tell us how the logistics are going for this year's race.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning. The registration is going really well. We are over 1,500 right now, which is a great sign. We are ahead of the schedule.
Great. So how are some of the ways in which the race last year has helped Burundi, even just in the short year that has gone on since the last race?
Because of your participation last year, at this moment, I'm very proud to tell you that we have helped more than 40,000 people are getting clean water close to home. And thanks for your participation. And this year, we have set the goal high to 6,000 runners. And I'm hoping 1,000 of you will be able to join. That's a mall of life being transformed. When I talk about transformation, sometimes it's harder to understand. By you participating, someone in Burundi, a family, will be able to have water for life. It does not cost that much either. It costs $25. What can you do with $25? Go register to change a life of someone.
Wow, so if we get 6,000 runners that are running the race this year, tell us more about the positive impact that can have back in Burundi.
To give you just a simple scenario, $25, it helps a family to get clean water to a family. So we've done the math based on the number of we helped. So the people will be getting clean water. Children will go to school and become better educated. They will be not dehydrated. They can focus on the studies. Hospitals, clinics, that we have water, and villages. We employ people. By building these projects, we employ population, we employ the people, the local community. They get paid to install the water. So really, you're talking about a transformation of villages and the communities.
Wow, that's great, Gilbert. This year, you're focusing also on the global aspects of the Burundi, of the Run for Water. So you're having people participate who don't live in Austin. And so tell us a little bit about those efforts.
Global Run is one way to grow a race. So for those of you thinking you'll be traveling, you're going to see your parents, so no, you can run whatever you're gonna be. You just run the race, we send you the bib, that's it. So Global Run, it's the best way also to reach out to the communities. So get your uncle, get your cousin, get your teammates, get your high school, run a race, change the life of someone in Burundi.
Wow. So let me get this straight. So if one of our students out there who really wishes they could participate in the run, but they're not going to be in Austin, So let's say their brother's getting married back in Dallas. So what they should do then on the day of the race, when we're running in Austin, is they should get a community together in Dallas.
Yes.
And they can get their own bids together and they can run the race and it'd almost be like they're participating with what's happening here, which is helping Burundi in Africa.
Yes, we will send them. We're so lucky we team up with Map My Run, which will be able to get those the results. We send them the bib, we send them the t-shirts, and life has been changed in Burundi.
That's great. So right, at UT, we claim that what starts here changes the world. And I can't think of a more real way that that can happen this semester in this class than if we have people participating in this race so that kids in Burundi can have clean water and they can get education and jobs. Right? But starts here changes the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's changing the world, but it's also changing individuals' lives too who are running. I mean, I can't think of a more important reason to run than those two.
Right.
I would like to, I was listening earlier your conversation and why I run, why I'm asking you to run. I run because for me, it brings me joy. Running, it grounds me. It connects me to people, to the world. And when I run, my mind is clear. My mind is free. Whether you had a good morning or bad morning, you just go out and run. It will clear your mind. You come refreshed and your day will be awesome. So when I was young, some of you know, I was involved in really accident where I lost 30% of my body. I was told I would never run again. After 3 months in the hospital, I was able to run. And now I'm able to give back to the community. And some of those people trying to hurt me. Running has helped me to regain my strength and be able to forgive my enemy and move on. Really, you don't have any excuse not to run. Register to run, change your life for someone in Burundi.
You know, and the big part of what I like to see about this is it's a transformation at many levels. It absolutely transforms lives in Burundi. It's also going to transform the lives of our students if they learn that running is really important for their own health. And I keep coming back to that because it's something that is the most important lesson they can possibly learn at a university is to take care of themselves. And this is such a great way to connect with something that is so powerful because you have turned hate and evil into love and forgiveness and triumph. I mean, there's no other way to say it. What you have accomplished is inspiring at so many different levels. You mentioned it really quickly. People in the running community know that Gilbert's associated with the term run with joy. That's Gilbert. And he lives it and he means it. And I have to tell a personal story because about a year ago, you had an anniversary. You were here for 20 years. And so the way Gilbert celebrates the anniversary is he gets his friends together and has them run 20 miles, 1 mile for each year. And so I have to say there was a personal interaction in the middle of that run that I was fortunate enough to be on with you that kind of says it all. And so when Gilbert runs in Austin, he doesn't just choose a path that's flat. So we ran over Mount Bonnell. And then we ran down the other side. Most of you have probably not been down the steep side of Mount Bonnell. We get to the bottom. I'm thinking like everybody else, oh, we'll just find some flat way to limp back to the beginning and we'll be done. This is about mile 16, by the way. He says, no, we go back. So we went back up the hill. And at that very moment, and I was thinking to myself, how can I get out of this gracefully? Because I'm not going to climb up that hill. He comes by me and he says, run with joy. And I did. It changed the way you think about things. I went flying up that hill. I was fine. And you just have a way about you that I hope these students can perceive with you just in the studio here, that they can understand what you can really do and what you bring to us. It's just true magic, and I hope that they can experience that for themselves. And the best way to do that is to be part of your run. They will be part of something that is so much bigger than just Austin. It's so much bigger than just you even. It's just powerful.
Thank you. I hope you participate, yes.
Great. So what's starting here is hopefully changing the world.